Staying innovative is a purposefully driven type of exercise, and if done correctly, it can help you gather many of ideas to help with your next project or your upcoming project. Hey y'all, this is Creed. I'm a process engineer and I design digital transformation initiatives from a customer's point of view. Today, I want to review some of the methods I do to maintain that innovation every day to ensure I don't miss out on what is trends, or I use the term emerging opportunities. In order for me to do that, I need to rely on a variety of sources of information, whether it's a podcast, a book that I'm reading, YouTube videos, articles online. So why even do this at all? I get bombarded with ideas, some from myself, some that I hear driving into work, reading a book or an article. And the problem is where I used to be able to convince myself saying that's a fantastic idea. I now know that if I don't have a system to capture that immediately, most likely that a great brilliant idea is going to be lost by the end of a busy day. There is a system that I use that allows me to, one, capture those ideas so I don't miss any current trends that are out there, to store and archive effectively so that it is not just a junkyard of just digital files, and then three, and most importantly, allows me to pull that information at will to apply it onto any existing projects or as research for future projects I might be working on. Some tactics I'm going to share, I've been using it for some time, and some others I've been recently working on, probably for the last year or so. And could contribute that to a variety of sources: Ali Abdal, Thomas Frank, Mary Poli, Bacola, I hope I'm saying that and pronouncing that right, Matthew Encina, and Tiago Forte, and Tam Pham. Those are a few of people that I've been following very closely on a variety of these systems and tools, particularly for some new tools like Notion, Readwise, and Airr. But the majority of my systems, I've been doing it for some time. I've just been recently been able to do a lot more automation to make this much easier. Right at the top, I should mention that none of these tools are sponsored. I personally paid for these. I actively use them. Why I'm sharing this with you is this is how I use these tools for the purpose of innovation. Now, I won't be able to share all the components of each tool, but if you're interested, send me a comment and I can review the tool more thoroughly with you. I use a framework, whether it is directive or passive, to capture ideas from multiple different sources. So the direct path, I'm a strong believer in Google Alerts. Depending on the project I'm working on, I may use particular phrases that coincide with that project and have Google Alerts give me updates or articles or discussions about that similar topic. And I make a frequency of that being delivered to a mailbox that would then get archived for me to read at least once a week. So some examples would be obviously digital transformation, continuous improvement, but there could be a lot more specific. So specific project I was working on recently was RFID. So I would use a lot of research on RFID to see how RFID is being utilized in one sector and see if it's applicable for my particular project. So as Google Alerts send me these emails, I have them auto-populate into a particular folder that I read at a dedicated time. I usually set aside time on Sundays and Monday mornings to go through these specific articles. If there is an article that seems intriguing to me, I have another system that I use to archive that. I like to use Pocket. Now, Pocket is quite useful for me because it allows me to add unique tags to that article. I will then read this article more thoroughly, again, either using it Sundays or Mondays. And what I'm trying to do now is to look for specific components in that article that I might find useful. So another positive feature of the Pocket tool, it allows me to highlight different phrases or quotes within an article. Now, what I do is only highlight articles, meaning I'm going to use it to an existing project. I may use it for a white paper, but it is something that I can use as an active research article towards something I'm working on right now or in the near future. In doing that, I use another tool that's helped me automate pulling that information to an active database. I use a tool called Readwise. Readwise has the ability to automate and export these files to another database for me. It looks for all the articles that I have highlighted in Pocket and then automatically exports that to Notion for me. Now, Notion is a tool that you can spend a great amount of time going through the capabilities. But for this video, I'm just going to briefly go through what I use Notion for, particularly along the lines of capturing information and applying that towards my projects. Now, the best way to explain Notion is it's a tool that acts as a database that holds information pertaining to my consulting company, my clients. It holds my tools and templates, active initiatives that I'm currently working on. It also holds the statuses of all the various projects I'm working with my clients. So it's my central hub that I hold all things pertaining to continuous improvement, innovation, or future initiatives that could be upcoming. Of course, from a proprietary perspective, I can't share details of the projects I'm working on. But what I'll do, if you're interested to see how I navigate through Notion as a process engineer, leave me some comments down below. So if we follow the bouncing ball, that same article that I once read, then highlighted components that's important to me, then archived it with tags, and then from there it is exported because I want to apply it to existing process. So if there was a particular solution that I thought that could be applicable for my RFID project, I would take that components of the article that was once archived with a tag called RFID, then pulled at will because I'm currently on an RFID project, and use that particular component to be applied to my active project, assign a person to investigate and research that further, put that in my Kanban, develop a net new process that could be utilized into my existing initiative, and then define that future state going forward. Now that's the direct way. Now there's a passive, meaning there's multiple other streams that I'm getting information. I think, wow, this could be applicable to a current project or a future project. So I have other tools that does a very similar approach as well. So if I'm listening to podcasts, I use a tool called Airr. Very similar to Pocket, Airr allows me to quote interesting components of a podcast. And in doing so, it'll follow the same path as Pocket. And again, the same process is once those things are highlighted, it can get exported through my Readwise tool, which would then get exported to my Notion tool. Then apply that right away to one of my projects. So another passive tool I use is called Feedly. It's a tool that gathers a variety of sources of topics that I've identified and holds it for me to review. Again, I follow the same path on Sundays or Monday mornings. Read a couple articles that I think might be useful, and then put that into my Pocket. That will follow the same stream. So after going through all this, is this perfect? Absolutely not. While I find this extremely helpful, there's still a variety of sources that I have to manually capture information. I'm a big also consumer of YouTube videos, and there doesn't seem to be a way for me to scrape that information as I can for podcasts. I'm also a big consumer of Audible. Now, the only thing with Audible is it's not automated. Unfortunately, that is one of the tools that I have not found an ideal solution to automate. So I still listen to the books, but then pause to write my notes and comments about a particular thing I might have heard. And so I'm hoping there is a way that I can use Audible and have that automatically exported to Notion like the other tools I mentioned. I've been just looking at a new tool called Roam, and I'm hoping that that will provide me some note-taking solutions that, for example, some of the notes that I've captured from Audible, if there's a way for that to be incorporated into Roam and then exported via Readwise to my Notion database. If you have any thoughts or ideas, please message me below. And that's it. So those are the tools that I use. It's far from perfect, but it's been really helpful so far. And that's what sort of keeps me, I would think, on the frontier of innovation. So I can honestly say that a lot of my ideas that I applied for my initiative and projects came out of this framework. Staying ahead and looking and reviewing trends takes a lot of work, and finding tools that help automate that for me helps support me being more innovative. It allows me to archive that information intelligently and pull that at will so that I can apply it to an existing project or future projects. And I thought to share this with you because it's been working for me for some time, and it's only getting better as we get more tools to help with being innovative. So let me just close by saying, work on one thing at a time, focus on the most important thing first, and start it right now. Peace.